I was unaware that it was going to collapse, but it was one of those mornings that felt like it might go either way. My wife, Lauren, stopped me at the door with an anxious expression on her face after I kissed her goodbye as I headed off for work. When I arrived home, she informed me she needed to talk to me about something, and I could tell it was serious by the tone of her voice. She simply informed me that we would have time to discuss when I returned. Without going into further detail, I made an effort to ignore it. I had enough on my plate as a coach and instructor to keep me occupied, and work was hectic. However, that nagging sense persisted throughout the day. What was it she wished to discuss? Had I made a mistake? There hadn't been any significant conflicts or unsolved problems between us lately. Hell, even though it wasn't as frequent as it had been during our first marriage, we were still occasionally having sex. Recently, I had been making an effort to be a better husband by spending more time with her, paying more attention, and avoiding becoming overly preoccupied with coaching. What was this about then? I made an effort to get rid of it, but it persisted, looming over me like a threatening cloud. I didn't know what to anticipate when I pulled into the driveway. The aroma of my favorite dish, chicken fried steak with mashed potatoes and gravy, filled the air as soon as I entered. It made my stomach turn, and it was my favorite comfort meal. Why did it feel like a prelude to terrible news if the dinner was so good? Lauren kissed me on the cheek and said, "Hey, Nick," but I could see the weight of the conversation in her eyes. "Dinner's ready. Sit down." She had obviously been cooking for some time. She rarely prepared such a lavish lunch unless she was feeling very motivated. While eating in silence, we discussed about schools and other commonplace topics. She guided me to the couch, sat with me, and held my hand after we finished washing the dishes. She said, "Nick," in a steady but somewhat too composed voice, "first off, I want you to know that I love you more than anything in this world. Our marriage is good, our sex life is good, and I think you're the best husband and father. So don't take what I'm about to say the wrong way." I could sense my heartbeat quickening. What on earth was happening? I tried to seem calm as I responded, "Well, that depends," but I could feel my nerves getting the better of me. "Lauren, what is this all about?" After a few minutes of looking down, she inhaled deeply. "I need some space. A little time away. I want to move out for just a little while so I can recharge my batteries." I went cold. "What?" I asked, feeling my heart begin to race. "You're asking for a separation?" "No," she answered abruptly, as though to comfort me. "It's not like that. It's just a little time away from each other, Nick. I need some space. I'm suffocating here." Her words didn't make sense, despite my best efforts to understand them. "Are you not happy with me? Are you having an affair?" She widened her eyes in surprise. "Absolutely not. No, Nick, I'm just asking for a little time for myself." My blood was beginning to boil. "So where are you going, Lauren? You're just going to move out with no explanation?" She said, "I'm going to stay with Clara for a while. She has an extra room, and I think it will help me clear my head." Clara, her closest companion. Additionally, I knew a woman who was, well, a little, let's say, promiscuous. The idea of Lauren remaining with her chilled me to the bone. "You're kidding, right?" I nearly laughed, but it was a sour laugh that only rage could produce. "Clara, she's the one who encouraged this, isn't she? The one who told you this would be good for you?" Lauren's face flushed a little. "Nick, it's not like that. I just need some time. Please understand." However, I was unable to. It was not logical. Everything I knew about our life together seemed to be being dragged out from under me, and I felt like I was losing control. My voice trembled, but I had to say it. "I can't do this, Lauren. I can't just sit here and watch you walk out the door. If you're asking for a separation, then I guess we need to make it official," she responded. "No, Nick, it's not like that," in a shaky voice. "I'm just asking for some space. I still love you. This isn't about you. It's about me needing a break." My thoughts were racing as I gazed at her. It was too hard to bear that she would remain with Clara, potentially seeing other men, probably already having an affair. With a bitter taste in my mouth, I said, "So, are you asking for my blessing on this little break you're taking?" She gave me a beseeching look. "No, I'm not asking for your blessing. I just want a little time away." Before I could stop them, I blurted out, "Are you going to sleep with other men, Lauren?" and immediately felt regret. I was unwilling to accept it, she responded. Absolutely not, Nick, in an emotionally charged voice. I am still your wife. This isn't about cheating. I was at a loss for what to believe. Then why the hell are you leaving? I thought she was lying to me about everything. Her frustration was evident as she bit her lip. I need some time, for both of us. It'll make things better. But I had a gut feeling that something wasn't right. I couldn't get rid of the impression that this was more than a brief respite. She wasn't telling me everything, I sensed. I had finished speaking. I won't just sit here while you play your games, Lauren. You make your choice, but know this: if you cheat on me, if I find out you've been with another man, this marriage is over. She seemed less like the lady I had married and more like a scared child as she nodded. I won't, Nick. I promise. I didn't believe her, though. I was unable to. With her luggage packed and a kiss on the cheek that felt more like a farewell than anything else, I watched Lauren walk out. As the door softly swung behind her, I stood motionless, as though to say, "This is it, Nick." I didn't know what to do. My thoughts were racing. What does she mean when she says space? Does she have another partner? Or is she simply perplexed? But it was all illogical. I had assumed we were all right. There was still love even when things weren't perfect. We were both busy and may have ignored one another over time. I believed there was. Anyhow, I stood in the living room and stared at the empty space she left behind as she drove off to Clara's apartment. Something didn't feel right. The walls themselves seemed to be holding their breath, anticipating a crack. It felt like the quiet before a storm, and the closer I went to the truth, the more I felt like I was on the brink of something I couldn't control. Perhaps this was just me being paranoid. I chose to look further because I couldn't get rid of the feeling that something wasn't right. I was certain of one thing: I couldn't allow her to leave without knowing why. I required clarification. However, I also had to maintain my pride. I gave my lawyer, Diana, a call the following day. She had handled a few ugly divorces for some of the males I knew, and she was strong and no nonsense. I trusted her to offer me the guidance I required, and I wasted no time in getting her response. Diana, it's Nick, I murmured quietly. Lauren's left. She says it's for a little time away, but I think there's more to it. I need to know what my options are. She made no hesitation. Nick, it sounds like she's trying to set up some kind of separation without the actual paperwork. I'd suggest you get a pie and start tracking what she's doing. If she's stepping out, we'll need to know. And if this turns into divorce, we need to be ready with all the details. I took a deep breath. Even though I wasn't the kind to make snap judgments, everything was pointing in a direction. I didn't want to go. A breakup? A rest? Those things took time to happen. More must lie beneath the surface. I rubbed my eyes and said, "All right, Diana, let's get started." I gave my friend Dave, a coach at Lauren's school, a call the following day. I explained the circumstances and requested him to watch for anything strange, anything at all. He was dependable and devoted, and I had faith in him. "Sure thing, Nick," replied Dave. "I'll keep my ear to the ground. Don't worry about it." I could already feel the gravity of the situation by the time I hung up. I had a strong feeling that I would soon find out if anything was happening. I tried to keep myself occupied by pacing the house for the remainder of the afternoon. I couldn't help but stress about it, even though I knew it. I needed something to help me see things clearly. I had trouble sleeping that night. My mind kept returning to Clara and Lauren. I had to find out if there was anything between them because they were too near. My wife was someone I knew. She wasn't the kind to abruptly quit without explanation. However, what if the explanation was something I wasn't expecting? I gave Diana another call. "I need you to get me a pie, Diana. I'm serious. I need to know what Lauren's up to, especially with Clara. I'm not sure what's going on, but I need to find out before it's too late." She let out a sigh. "I hear you, Nick. Don't worry. I'll set it up." I met with Elliot Nash, a pie Diana had suggested, the following day. He was tough as nails, a former CIA agent, and equipped with the necessary equipment and expertise to complete the task. He looked up from his desk, nodded sharply, and gestured for me to sit down as soon as I entered his office. He added, "I've got the equipment to get the job done, Nick," in a smooth but sharp voice. "You'll get everything you need, and I'll make sure we do it quietly." I explained everything. My wife's staying at Clara's. The first need you to keep an eye on them both. I don't trust either of them right now, and I need to know what's going on. Elliot gave a nod. Got it. I'll follow them. Get pictures, videos, or whatever it takes. You'll know the truth before long. After several long days, I finally received a call from Dave. He was pursuing Lauren. Later that night, I met him at a nearby bar. He had that expression in his eyes that indicated he had noticed something strange. Dave remarked, checking to make sure no one else was listening. I don't have everything, Nick, but I heard enough. I overheard a conversation between Lauren and Clara. I don't have the full details, but it's not good, man. Sounds like they're planning something tonight. My heart fell. What do you mean? Planning what? They're meeting up with some guys, Ryan, that new science teacher, and Jack, the assistant principal, Dave remarked in a hushed voice. I don't know what's going on, but I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't just dinner and drinks. I nodded, attempting to take it all in. I was no longer able to deny it. The fact that Lauren was plotting something bothered me. I said, Thanks, Dave, in a strained voice. Keep me posted. I waited that night while sitting by myself in the dark. It buzzed on my phone. Elliot was the one. Nick, he continued in a low voice, I've got footage. Lauren and Clara are at the tavern with Ryan and Jack. There's a lot of drinking, a lot of dancing, and, well, it's exactly what you feared. His remarks weighed heavily on me as I sat there in quiet, asking, What do you mean? Exactly. Elliot remarked, Lauren and Ryan were all over each other. I've got video of them kissing, hands all over each other while they danced. And they're not stopping there, Nick. I'm about to follow them back to Clara's house. I'll keep you updated. I tried to filter out the pictures that were flooding my head by closing my eyes. Surely this wasn't real? The fact that Lauren was doing this astounded me. Not to me. Not after all that we had endured. I didn't get any sleep that evening. I was unable to. The same pictures of Lauren in another man's arms kept coming back to me. The truth has to be known to me. I needed to know for sure. And that meant staying through this horror till the very end. I would know everything tomorrow. Every second of the night was a terrible reminder of the decision I was going to have to make. I had trouble falling asleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Lauren's face, which was filled with fear, shame, and an inexplicable emotion. My mind was circling back and forth. Did she actually do this? Was I being betrayed by her? How could I ever trust her again if that's the case? I was feeling like a walking zombie by morning. I hadn't slept, but I didn't have time for that. Now I was on a mission, a quest to determine the precise nature of the situation, to discover whether all I had worked for, all I had believed, was a lie. With trembling hands, I sat at the kitchen table and got a cup of coffee. Not quite 8 a.m. had arrived yet, but I felt as though I was being suffocated by the heaviness in my chest. I was aware of my obligations. I had to face Lauren and ask her directly for the answers. However, a part of me was afraid of what I might hear. The telephone rang. Elliot was the one, with a calm yet solemn tone that usually made my stomach drop. He said, Nick, I have everything. I followed them all the way to Clara's. I have pictures and video. And, well, I have proof of everything. My heart was pounding, and I nearly lost my voice. Knowing that the words would be the most impactful, I forced myself to ask, What exactly do you mean by proof? With obvious weight in his voice, Elliot stated, You're going to want to see it yourself, Nick. I've got footage of Lauren and Ryan together. I'll send it to you now. Trust me, you're not going to like what you see. I inhaled deeply, anticipating the worst. Send it, I muttered. How long it took for the video to arrive was unknown to me. It seemed to go on forever. However, I was unable to postpone it any longer once it arrived. I got the file open. The tape showed my wife, Lauren, dancing in the arms of another man. It was too clear and crisp. Ryan, the man with whom she was meeting, the new instructor of science. She was kissing and smiling with the man as though I didn't exist. The ground seemed to have been torn out from under me. There was more than just dancing in the video. There was more, a whole deal more. She had him in her hands. He had her in his hands. All eyes were on them as they made out. As I watched, my stomach turned. My entire being begged me to turn away, yet I was unable to do so. I had to see it. No matter how painful it was, I had to know the truth. I was deeply affected by the treachery. The worst portion, the worst thing I could have ever envisioned, then arrived. They continued past the bar. They returned to Clara's residence. They were seen making out once more on the video, although it was more private this time. His hands were moving over her body as I watched them on the couch. Lauren didn't stop him either. She had no hesitation at all. She participated. She participated in it. I nearly lost it at that moment. However, I didn't. I was unable to. I had to maintain my concentration. I got up, walked around the kitchen, and turned off the video. I wanted to scream and be furious, but I knew I couldn't. I needed to clear my head. It was no longer simply about me. Therefore, I had to choose how to respond. It was about everything I believed we were, everything I had created with her. The hours that followed were a blur. Naturally, Lauren didn't pick up when I tried to phone her. She most likely anticipated what would happen. I'm sure she knew. I had no intention of waiting for her to return and engaging in any sort of game. I had already decided on something. I gave Dave another call. I said, I need you to keep an eye on her today, in a controlled but almost icy assurance. Don't let her out of your sight. I need to know when she's coming back. Dave made no hesitation. Got it, man? I'll keep you updated. I thought I was going crazy. I kept thinking about that fucking video. I kept replaying every kiss and every touch in my mind. The physical betrayal wasn't the only painful aspect. It was the sentimental one. Another man was with her. More than anything else, it stung that she was receiving something from him that she wasn't receiving from me. Dave called me later in the day. When he said, Nick, she's coming back. His voice was tense. She's packing up her things at Clara's. I think she's coming home. My chest pounded with my heart. I was unsure about how to feel. I knew I had to wait, but there was a part of me that wanted to face her immediately and force the truth out of her. I wanted her to return. I needed her to turn around, meet my gaze, and take responsibility for her actions. And suddenly it appeared. The door was knocked on. A beat skipped in my chest. She was standing there when I opened it. Lauren, my spouse. I believed I knew this woman. She had a new appearance, worn out, damaged, and possibly even embarrassed. However, I couldn't tell if she truly felt bad or if she was just playing the victim. When she originally informed me she wanted distance, she was wearing the same anxious expression. Nick, she murmured in a quiet, shaky voice. I'm sorry. I never meant for any of this to happen. I was unable to look at her just yet. I had to know the truth, the whole truth. I said in a calm, low voice. What do you mean by space, Lauren? What's been going on between you and Ryan? I saw the horror in her eyes as they enlarged a little. Nick, please, she muttered. It wasn't what you think. Then what was it, Lauren? I said, raising my voice. What the hell was it? Because the way I see it, you've been lying to me. You've been lying to both of us. Her mouth opened to speak, but nothing came out. Her face was etched with guilt, and it was evident to me that she was having difficulty coming up with the appropriate response. I had already been exposed to the reality. However, I had to hear it from her. She had to tell it to me. I said, I saw the video, Lauren, in a softer tone. I saw everything. The kissing, the touching. You were with him, and you didn't stop it. Her face turned pale, and she stumbled backward one step, as though something had moved underfoot. She broke off, Nick. It was a mistake, she said. It was just one night. I didn't mean for it to happen. I swear I never wanted to hurt you. I tightened my jaw and clenched my fists. You didn't mean for it to happen? You were planning it, Lauren. You chose to be with him. You chose to betray me. Then, with tears streaming down her face and her shoulders trembling, she broke down. She sobbed and muttered, I'm so sorry, Nick. I never wanted this. I didn't know what I was doing. I just needed something I wasn't getting from you. I didn't want to hurt you. I stared at her, feeling pain and rage, but also something else. I was at a loss for what to do. I was unsure of my ability to forgive her. I was unsure if I would ever be able to trust her again. Lauren, I said, you've crossed a line. I don't know if I can come back from this. I don't know if we can come back from this. She was standing in the doorway, sobbing, as I turned and left. I was no longer able to look at her. I was unable to hear what she had to say. The trust had been broken, and I was unsure if it could be restored. I became fully aware of the gravity of what I was going to encounter as I entered the next room. My marriage had ended, and I had to choose between fighting for something that might already be gone or just walking away. To be honest, I had no idea how to feel or what to say. I tried to put some distance between what I had just discovered and what was still my reality as I moved away from Lauren and into the next room. My 20-year relationship with the lady I believed I knew better than anyone had just destroyed all of our mutual trust. She was gone. She was unfaithful. She was now standing in my home, sobbing, expressing regret, and pleading for my pardon. However, there was no simple solution. There was no remedy. There wasn't a magical moment when everything would come together again. How long I stood there trying to figure it all out is beyond me. I couldn't act like nothing was wrong. However, I was also unsure if I could simply discard everything. My thoughts were a battle zone, alternating between incredulity, rage, and the tiniest, most flimsy hope that perhaps, just possibly, she could be saved. That we might be able to save what was left somehow. However, I knew in my heart that hope was untrue. It seemed like forever before I heard her voice once more. Nick, please, just let me explain. I never wanted this to happen. I never wanted to hurt you. I've been feeling lost, alone. I just needed a break. And Clara, she told me it would be good for me, just to get away for a while. With a pounding heart, I turned to her. Alone? You needed a break? I replied with a low but steady voice. I gave you everything, Lauren. I worked my ass off for us. I gave you my heart, my time. And this? This is what you do? You go and get swept up in the arms of another man? She attempted to approach me, but I stopped her with a raised hand. Don't. I don't want to hear excuses. I don't want to hear how you needed something. This was a choice, Lauren, and now I have to live with that. We have to live with that. Her cries reverberated throughout the room as she sat on the couch. Her face crumpled. She whimpered. I never meant to hurt you. Her tears now streaming down her face. I never wanted to lose you. I was just confused. Everything was slipping away, and I didn't know what to do. I thought I could just get away for a bit, but then it turned into something else. In an attempt to regain my composure, I approached the window and gazed out into the yard. With a bitter taste on my tongue, I said, You thought you could just get away? How long was this going on, Lauren? Were you planning this? Was this something you've been thinking about for weeks, months? She gave a hasty shake of her head, but that kind of denial felt too late. It wasn't like that, she continued, her voice barely audible above a whisper. It just happened. I never wanted it to go this far. To which I said, Well, it did, and now I'm left with the aftermath. The mess, the broken pieces. And you want me to just sit here and pretend it didn't happen? Her voice broke. I don't know what to say anymore, Nick. I know I've hurt you. I can't undo what's been done. But I love you. I still love you. Can't we just try? Try? After something like this, how do you try? After the foundation has so severely damaged, how can you even begin to pick up the pieces? Yes, was what I wanted to say. I wanted to think she was real. I hoped that we might sort things out and get back together. However, I felt in my heart that there was no turning back. I don't know, Lauren, I answered in a quiet, hollow voice. I don't know if I can ever trust you again. You made your choice. And now, I have to decide what I want my future to look like. The weight of everything we had experienced, and everything that had just been ripped apart, was heavy in the words that hung in the air. Something that had been keeping things together for so long started to shatter inside of me. The days that followed were a haze of blank discussions and blank gaps. I stayed at home by myself while Lauren stayed at Clara's. The first had never experienced the house feeling so cold and empty. I couldn't shake the sensation that everything I had fought so hard to achieve I believed to be stable had fallen apart in a few short days. The first date, our wedding, the years we spent parenting DJ, and the way she smiled at me. When we were pleased were all things I thought about while I paced the house for hours. Now everything seemed so far away, like a dream that had vanished. I gave Diana another call. I said, "We need to move forward," in a tense voice. "I can't sit here and wait for things to get better. I need to make a decision. I need to know what to do next." On the other end, Diana was composed. "Nick, it's your choice. You can try to work through it, but it's going to take time. Or if you're ready, we can start the divorce process. Either way, we'll move forward with what's best for you." I had lost my sense of what was best. The betrayal, the lies, and how incredibly unfair everything felt were all I could think about. However, I was also aware that I couldn't continue to live this way, trapped in a place where everything serves as a reminder of what I had lost. Lauren called shortly after that. She desired to return home. She wanted to attempt to make things right, to explain herself, and to speak again. At first, I didn't pick up. I was unable to, not quite yet. Not while the pain was still too raw and fresh, but her voice was hesitant, almost begging, when I finally answered. "Nick, please. I don't want to lose you. I know I've messed up, but I can't live with myself if you leave me. I love you. I need you." I shut my eyes. It was too painful. Did her cries and her words mean anything anymore? Did they weigh as much as they used to? "I don't know, Lauren," I answered in a scratchy voice. "I just don't know. I don't know if I can come back from this. Maybe I'm not the person you need anymore. Maybe I'm not the person I thought I was." For a long time, she was silent. Then she replied, "I'll do anything, Nick. Anything to make this right," in a voice that was almost audible above a whisper. With the decision weighing heavily on me, I let out a sigh. Could we start over? Could it have happened? Or did this mark the end of something positive? Something genuine? "I don't know, Lauren," I repeated, although this time I spoke more quietly. "I really don't." The weeks that followed were characterized by uncertainty and quiet. I was at a loss for what to do. I wasn't sure whether I could ever trust her again or if I could forgive her. Furthermore, I wasn't sure whether I could forgive myself for allowing this to occur. I continued to perform the routine. I continued to be the father I needed to be, to coach, to show up for work. But I always felt that same gnawing emptiness inside of me when I looked at Lauren and reflected back on the life we had spent together. I had no idea what lay ahead. I had no idea what lay ahead for us. However, one thing was certain. Rehabilitation would be a long and difficult journey regardless of how things played out. For us both. The days seemed to drag on for weeks. Time passed interminably, with each moment blending into the next. I had been in a state of limbo with Lauren. I was still here, in the house we had lived in for 20 years, trying to process everything that had transpired, and she was still staying with Clara. I had no idea what I was waiting for: a clue, a flash of insight, or confirmation that I was on the right track. But that fucking video was all I saw each time I closed my eyes. Lauren in the arms of another guy, kissing, laughing, and doing all the things she had vowed not to do to me. And every time, the truth of what she had done struck me with greater force. I felt like I couldn't get away from the weight of everything, because I was dealing with the fallout from her decisions. I anticipated the conversation. It was necessary. Lauren had called and texted me a couple of times, but I had always stayed away from them. I wasn't sure whether I was prepared to hear anything more from her, and I wasn't sure what to say. But after a while, I realized I couldn't keep avoiding it. I was forced to face it, turn to face her. I finally made the decision to give her a call back early one morning. Even though my hand was trembling a little when I picked up the phone, I made myself dial. Before she answered, the phone rang twice. "Nick?" she asked in a hesitant, nearly frail voice. I briefly closed my eyes. "Yeah, it's me." She paused for a long moment before continuing. "Can we talk? In person, please? I just need a chance to explain, I don't know. I need to try, Nick." Anger was rising inside of me, but I controlled it. I wasn't prepared to lash out at her. I wasn't prepared to let it devour me. "I'll give you one chance, Lauren. That's it. I don't know what's left to say, but I'll listen." She consented to visit. We agreed on a time, and I experienced an odd sense of tranquility once I hung up. It wasn't a sense of relief. Resolution wasn't the issue. It was more akin to acceptance. This was something I had to do. I was forced to face it. I had to hear what she had to say, whatever was left between us. For me, for my own comfort. There was no greeting or embrace when she got there. For a minute, neither of us knew where to start, so we stood in the doorway. It was deafeningly quiet between us. I said, "Come in," and moved aside. After a brief moment of hesitation, she sat down on the couch with her hands firmly clenched in her lap. I crossed my arms and stood opposite her. Even though my heart was racing, I refused to show her how much this was breaking my heart. I could no longer allow her to control me in that way. She said, "Nick," her voice trembling, "I know I've hurt you. I know I've betrayed you in the worst way, but I need you to know it wasn't just a one-time mistake. I've been lost for a while, and I let myself get caught up in something that wasn't real. It was selfish. It was stupid. But I swear to you, I never meant to hurt you. I never meant for it to get this far." I gave a head shake. "You had a choice, Lauren. You chose to be with him. You chose to lie to me, to betray everything we built." She opened her mouth to speak, but I stopped her with a raised hand. Don't. Don't try to explain this away. You made your decision, and now we're here." Silently, she lowered her head and began to cry. "I know," she said in a whisper. "I'm so sorry, Nick. I wish I could take it back. I wish I could go back to the way things were before all of this. But I can't. And I know that's not enough. I know there's no way to fix this. But I need you to know I never wanted to lose you. I love you. I always have. I didn't think about the consequences. And now I've lost everything that mattered." I exhaled deeply in an attempt to control the rage that was swelling within me. "It doesn't change anything, Lauren. You were selfish. You were willing to risk everything for a momentary escape, for something that wasn't real." Her eyes were filled with regret as she gazed up at me. "I didn't think about the hurt I was causing. I didn't think about you. I was so caught up in everything. I thought I needed something else to feel alive again, to feel wanted, to feel seen. But I see now that all I did was destroy the one thing that was real." I took a deep breath. Her earnestness was audible to me. But that didn't change the fact that she had gone too far, a line that was uncrossable. "I can't just forget this," I murmured, tensing up. "I can't just pretend it didn't happen. I've been trying to figure out what to do, but I don't know if I can ever trust you again. You've shattered everything we built together, and I don't know if I can rebuild it." Her palm trembled as she grabbed for me, her face crushed. "Please, Nick. I don't want to lose you. I want to fix this. I'll do whatever it takes. I'll prove to you that I can change. I'll do the work. I swear to you, I can be better." I rubbed my face and closed my eyes. This was not what I wanted to hear. The promises were not something I wanted to hear. I was ready to go. I desired to recover. But I had no idea how to go about doing that. I wasn't sure whether I could simply go, but I also wasn't sure whether I could continue to live with this injury. I answered, "You can't prove anything right now, Lauren," in a gentle yet stern tone. "You've already made your choices, and now I have to make mine." She turned to face me, and I could see the desperation in her eyes. "Please, Nick. I'll make it right. I swear." I gave a head shake. "You can't fix this. Not now. Not like this." A long pause ensued. Neither of us said anything. At last, she rose slowly, as though the burden of everything was too much for her to handle. She approached the door, stopped for a second, and then turned back to me for a final glance. She whispered, "I love you, Nick," in a voice that was almost audible, "and I always will. But I understand if you can't forgive me." I didn't respond. I was unable to. I stood there in the house's silence after she was gone, the silence of a life I no longer recognized. The days that followed went by in a blur. Lauren was gone. I was by myself in the house, trying to make sense of the mess that was my life. While she lived with Clara, I was at a loss for what to do. I was unsure if I would ever be able to forgive her. I wasn't sure whether I could get over this. However, I was certain that my marriage was ended. The trust was irreparably damaged, regardless of Lauren's words or her efforts to mend it. I couldn't continue to cling to something that had already broken down, even though our love was still there, hidden beneath the suffering. A week later, I signed the divorce papers. I moved out after we equally divided everything. It was swift, tidy, and definitive, and I had the odd feeling that a burden had been removed from my shoulders. I had yet to determine what would happen next. I still needed to rediscover who I was. but I felt free for the first time in a long time. Although I was unsure of what lay ahead, I was aware that I had to leave the past behind. Lauren and I didn't talk much in the ensuing years. She went on. I went on. I was communicating with DJ more than ever before, and I started to gradually reconstruct my life, one step at a time. Despite having to work for it, I was able to find calm. But occasionally, I still think about her when I reflect on the past. I still remember our time together, and I secretly wonder if there is anything either of us could have done differently. However, I then recall that certain things are simply unfixable. Additionally, some people simply cannot return.